Hello everybody, welcome back to INSANEBRIT Gaming. I'm the INSANEBRIT, and today is I'm reviewing a documentary called Earthlings. I'll leave it in the link in the description below, so don't forget to check that out if you're interested in it. Essentially, it's World Vegan Day, and somebody asked me to review this particular documentary. I said it's not really what I do, but I'll give it a look, and it goes on for 90 minutes, and it is available on YouTube. I did check on Netflix, it's not there, so just go to the link in the description, and it will be there on YouTube. If you're interested in that kind of thing, I will say have a strong stomach is what I would suggest upon watching this. It's actually narrated by Jacqueline Phoenix in 2005. Now, to be fair, I haven't seen Jacqueline Phoenix in a long while. Like, literally, I know he tried to do rapping at one point. So he went from Gladiator to, I don't know, to 2005 this, to Joker. I have no idea what he's been doing. That's just, and he doesn't sound like himself. He really doesn't. But whatever, it's him. He sounds different. But anyway, so yeah, I've had to write a lot of these things down because I cannot remember everything. It went on for 90 minutes, so I've just got more or less essentially some facts, and I'll give you my thoughts and opinions on it. I'm going to be quite hypocritical here as well because essentially I love animals, but at the same time I am a meat eater. So then you can say, well, how do you love animals? You don't, but clearly because you're eating meat. I disagree with that. I think there's if you look at that in context, I don't know anything about the cow over the road that could be for milking or slaughter. I don't know anything about it. It's not mine. I have no affinity to it. But my cat or my dog or whatever it is, I do. They're part of my family. Speaking of which, my cat just came in, and yeah, so I have loyalty to them, and I do love animals. But then again, the other side of it is we got to love all animals. Well, I do, but at the same time, I don't have an attachment to those animals, and again, that's in context. So I am a bit hypocritical there, but I think that's a lot of meat eaters and a lot of that's just reality. Whether you like it or not, you can keep calling that out, but it's who cares regardless. It is what it is. So this documentary, uh, it's quite brutal in its or tries to shock you, and it just came across as stupid at first. It lost some credibility with me. Again, I'm going to be quite hypocritical here. Um, so basically, they go on and they describe everyone on Earth as Earthlings. We're Earthlings. We're part of Earth. I'm like, oh God, what kind of BS is this? You know what I mean? Come on, this ideology is so weak. It's it just felt like, oh, what a load of old shit. So he goes on about everyone being Earthlings and we're part of Earth, and then he talks about different aspects of the human race, such as racism, women not allowed to vote, sexism, all this kind of tripe. And I'm like, yes, we know it was a factor in life. We understand it's the past and whatever. And he's just going through it, and I'm like, well, yeah, but whatever. What's that got to do with it? And then he starts speaking about speciesism. That's a new term. Well, I've heard it, but it's not slang that I've ever heard in a documentary. Um, where talks about speciesism is where you basically believe that one species is dominant over another. And he's like, it's not true. And I'm like, yes, it is. It is. Human race has an ecosystem, or I mean, a system of things in place, from travel to economics to housing, everything, healthcare. We've, survived this long and got better at everything we've done. We are the dominant species on this planet. We dominate it. We affect it mostly. And, bears are still in the woods, whatever. That's what it is, what it is. So I don't know where, there's no denying that fact. But yeah, so he tries to keep bringing this speciesism up, like, what a load of shit. Um, yes, we are the dominant one, and that's the reality of it. But at the same time, we have a responsibility to love the animals, but also there's a system in place in which we have to kill some of the animals to eat, to live. And if you look back in the old days, whatever, where hunter-gatherers or whatever, they went out and killed buffalo or whatever it was and ate them. But now there's more humans, we need that on a bigger scale. If there was 100 million buffalo 100 years ago, we would have killed and ate all of them and they would be extinct. Now we've actually got a system in place where we've had to breed the actual cows and chickens and stuff like that to actually maintain their numbers, kind of thing. You know what I mean? Because we consume so much. There's so many people on the earth. 7, well, it was 6 billion. Now it's 7 billion. I think they're trying saying it's 8 billion people on earth. It's went up by a billion, but whatever. But I do know for a fact through another documentary that I watched recently, they said that there was 200,000 people being born every day on planet Earth. So, you know, I don't know why I had to emphasize planet Earth, but whatever. But 200,000 people are born into this world every single day. That's a lot of fucking people. So yeah, there's no doubt about that. We've had to do it on a mass scale. So anyway, this, like I said, I am going to be kind of hypocritical here as well, because of the set. While I will not go and protect a cow on this right hand side, I don't know anything about that cow. I have no interest in it. It could be for milking, could be for death. I don't know. It's not my property. I will not, it's irrelevant to me. But my cat or my dog, I will take care of and you know, love and whatever. You know, they're my pets and my family. That's the way I look at it. Again, some people would say, "Oh, well, you don't love animals. You got to love all animals." Well, that's just not a reality. Though I don't want to see the cow slaughtered, it's none of my business to what happens to that cow or whatever, or that chicken. It really isn't at the end of the day. That's just the way it is. So anyway, moving on forward with this, and like I said, I'm going to be kind of hypocritical here, and it's my perspective, but it is what it is. So he goes on about racism voting, okay, and species dominance, and this is what he kind of pisses me off and loses a bit of credibility. I think they're trying to shock you here at this point, but let me know if you think this is too much. I think he's talking about numbers and how many billions of animals that we actually slaughter. But he basically compares human beings to Nazis. Um, like, I'm like, really? Nazis? So yeah, he basically says dominates one over the other, dogs and humans, like his servers, pigs being bred, etc. All men are Nazis, killing animals, and compares it to the Holocaust. Yes, he compares killing animals to the Holocaust. Is he trying to shock you there? I think it's absolutely ridiculous. I think that most people, and this is a reality, if you could say kill 100 humans or kill 100 pigs or cows, most people are going to say the 100 people got to survive, right? I think that's most people. Um, Again, I'm going to get hypocritical here because, to be honest with you, I am the kind of person to. Um, it sounds bad, but I'll be honest with you. I am somebody who's willing to fucking kill somebody over my pet cat. If my cat gets hurt, I'll fucking go after you. That's the way I am, right? That's my opinion. Again, hypocritical, but at the same time, that's a member of my family. That's the way I see it. Therefore, that's what I decide. Again, again, you can feel free to disagree with that. That's fine, but that's my opinion on that. But so I think it's extreme and a bit ridiculous, though, either way, to compare the killing of animals to the Holocaust. In numbers, it would be far greater anyway. So I don't know what the hell he's talking about there. And I think that's a bit of out of touch, or I just think that is so wrong to have done that. But whatever, it is what it is. So I felt you lost a bit of credibility there. It would have been okay if they just went on with, oh, humans of killing on a mass scale, the industrial complex regarding it, and then moving forward, that and give me facts. That would have been a lot better. But you know, I just felt that was a bit of a weak point, and stupid, really. Um, okay, then they move on to things like pets. Okay, so I'm gonna just run down some of these numbers now. It's gonna go quite quickly. They then move on to pets who are people who breed the pets. Basically, where they go to the pet shop from breeders. And they go to the pet store. 25 million dogs basically go homeless every year, and of course they're cold as well, or in the place because they haven't actually got room for the dogs. They actually have to kill them, and there's a couple of methods that they use. This injection, it kills them within about less than 28 seconds, literally, or maybe 15 seconds. The injection that costs money, and they don't always have that. So and I've watched a couple of dogs die, and I was like, damn. It's sad that has to happen, or they can't afford to keep the dogs anymore. Um, at the same time, they were talking about if that is not cost effective, they go into a gas chamber where they're crammed into a box or like a freezer, and then they're gassed, and it takes up to 20 minutes, etc., etc. I'm like, well, that's terrible, and they're saying that this is due to the fact that um, what do you call it? That people don't refuse to neuter their pets, which I think is stupid, and you should definitely do that. Spade them, as the common word is used. And they, I swear to God, it was I was like, oh my God, really? They blamed men for this, or partly, and I was like, well, in particular, because they said that men often didn't get their pets neutered because if they felt that it, what do you call it, emasculated them, and it had a reflection on them as a man, like, oh, my dog's neutered, then, you know what I mean? Like, what? I think that's a shitty ideology and stupid, and if that is true, I think you're a fool for thinking that. But the idea of blaming, I love the fact that they predominantly blamed men for that one straight out the way, you know. Didn't blame any other factor in it, like, it was just, well, it's men that mostly do this, and I thought, fuck off. But whatever. If that is a fact, I think it is stupid. But whatever. I just found it kind of funny. Um, so yeah, so they're blaming men for that one. Then it moves on to food production. Okay, this is where the meat of, ironically, the meat of the documentary kind of gets where it's going. And I was waiting for this section. I thought, well, what does the dogs got to do with anything? Yes, it's sad. And it was like, you know, terrible that we got to kill dogs because we can't afford to keep them in these places. Um, it then moves on to food production, where they're saying that 6 billion animals die for food. Pigs, and basically, I'm just going to run through the process of what I saw in the video. Pigs are stunned, they're drained. I think they have their throats slit, and sorry guys, let me just drained. And then they talk about how people should be shown this process and shouldn't shy away from the fact of this process. You know, it may not be nice to see, but at the same time, you should know what happens to your food, blah blah blah. And this is trying to, at this point, they're trying to like get you riled up and prevent you from eating meat, trying to shock you that this is sad and this is what happens. It tries to play on this emotion. It feels that way. Go away, God. It plays on this emotion of sorry guys, let me switch back to the camera. Sorry, somebody was just trying to come on in there. Um, Basically, it plays on this emotion of, oh, you shouldn't be eating meat, and you should switch to a plant-based substitute kind of thing. And oh, isn't it sad how this pig is having its throat slit? Yes, it's sad. Yes, you don't want to see it. The bolt gun don't always work, by the way. So sometimes the pigs are alive when they do this, as well as the cows as well, which I'll move on to as well. Hold on, let me just get back to my place here. So there's so much to say, guys. I'll go run through because it was a long documentary. I couldn't remember everything off the top of my head. Um, Cows that are branded. This is the next process. Cows are branded. They're dehorned with pliers, without anesthetic, by the way, which of course that would cost too much to the. Well, it wouldn't, but they would put it in the cost, and they wouldn't want to take that cost internally. You know what I mean? They're basically dehorned with a pair of fucking pliers. They got the pliers, and they were taking the cow's horn off. It was horrible to see that. You know, oh, it looked fucking painful. But there you go. That's what happened. We're like, Jesus. Some die in transport after being. Yeah, that's another thing. Some die in transport, and of course they're used for different things, and sometimes they're used for, well, they're both used for both things. To be honest with you. Some are milked, and then after, a cow often can last about 20 years, but they're milked constantly, so they die within 4 years often enough. And then after that, this is the interesting thing, the ones that die on the milking floor, like, okay, they've been milked to death kind of thing, they are taken and then they are given to fast food restaurants. That's where that meat actually comes from, apparently. That's what they said, so I just assume that's correct. But yeah, ugh. So now we kind of know, and it's sad to think that way, but there you go. No one likes to think about it at the end of the day. Um, okay, what else is going on? Sorry guys, so 20s. Yeah, this is another thing. Again, it's the same process with the cows as well. They are bolted in the brain using a bolt gun with compressed air. Um, yeah. Sorry guys, I've lost my place completely now. Yeah, they're bolted in the brain. It don't always actually work, and they have their throat slit, and they're often alive when they're being drained. Oh, you see that? like, oh, it's quite horrific. The kosher way in which they do it is a different kind of method. I think there was a couple. I haven't got all this correct. It's done. It was when I saw it, it was more horrific to be honest with you. Where it looked bad, really did. They have their throat slits and they're not even bolted in the head, so literally they got to be like alive when they're feeling it, and they have their parts of their body ripped out, which was horrible to see. And I thought, Jesus Christ. But yeah, but the documentary did say what they were doing in respects to kosher um, way of killing or whatever. They did about 3 or 4 violations in regarding to that anyway. I suppose the law says one thing and you're not allowed to do it. I don't know. Which I suspect there should be a law in that, but it is what it is. Then it moves on to pigs. Pigs are kept pregnant on these farms, and each often produce to 50,000 to 600,000 pigs per year each. That's insane, isn't it? Then they show a clip of pigs' ears being clipped, done without anaesthetic, and you're having their ears cut off, and the pigs' tails as well. This is to prevent other pigs from biting, because they're so cramped together, from biting each other's tails off. And cannibalism does take place in the pig farm. You can see pigs trying to eat other pigs. It's horrible, or some dying, and it's just horrific, really. The conditions are no better anyway. You know, it's always going to be terrible when there's so many, but they're trying to maximize profit. That's the end of the day. Yeah, so, and then again, throat slitting and electric execution is the way this happens. Same kind of process. They are then boiled as well, and to remove the hair. And again, some of them are alive in this process, eventually dead. So they actually drown in the boiling hot water as well. Chickens are also debeaked, and this is to stop. And they use a machine. They used to do it a certain way, and then hand by hand. But that's not effective. So they have a machine to do it now as well. So like it's like 15 chickens every 5-10 seconds, something like that, where they just debeak them, and it looks like a horrible process. But I know it's more efficient or whatever for the company or whatever. But Jesus. So basically, they're debeaked, and they to prevent pecking and defeathering of each other or whatever. But they still try that anyway because it's their instinct. And they're also castrated as well for whatever reason. 90,000 birds are kept 60 to 90,000 birds are kept in a single building, and then they're hung upside down, had their throats slit. Ugh. How long has this video gone on for? 17 minutes, and I've only through part 1. I'm gonna have to let this cut out in a minute. But yeah, so that was part 1. Horrific seeing what happens to them, but I think most of us knew that process. But seeing it is like, it's not nice to see at the end of the day. There's no doubt about that. But yeah, the debeaking was not nice as well, to have a machine do it. Anyway, guys, this is the end of part 1. There's a ton of blood as well gushing out of the cows, and you can see them kind of suffering and even choking when talking about the kosher way of doing it in particular. They're put upside down as well at a certain angle, in the machine that they had, and there's a ton of blood, and the blood is just gushing out their throats. It's fucking horrible. Alright guys, so this is the end of part 1. I'm going to move on to seafood next. I'm going to let this cat out. He's very curious about what's happening outside. Sorry we were interrupted in this first part. Alright guys, I had a little bit of a break because I wanted to move on to the next section, because that went on for 18 minutes, speaking for 18 minutes straight. Like goddamn. So yeah. After this, I'm going to give you my final thoughts as well on the actual overall documentary. So it moves on to seafood. Of course, ecosystems being destroyed and stuff like that. But again, okay, so dumping waste, of course, essentially is what we've been doing in the oceans for decades or whatever. What's that thing? Toxic waste and all the rest of it. From factories and stuff, and oil pouring into the sea. Of course, these are man-made things. Us doing this stuff. It then goes on to talk about the types of fishing we do, like factory-type trawler fishing, where they've got a big machine, and it goes through the sea, kind of sweeping it clean, essentially depleting some already seriously depleted areas at an alarming pace. Apparently, 13 out of 17 major fisheries are already in decline and or depleted. Now, the thing is with that is that a lot of these things like the agricultural industry and the fisheries that would lose a lot of jobs around the world kind of thing, and that's what they don't want kind of thing. But if you look at I always thought there was quotas for how much fish you could take out anyway. I think there was they were talking about stopping fishing for 10 years so the fish could breed and then we could get up to another level, back to the level what we should be kind of thing, you know what I mean? Because it is depleting, as this documentary said. Of course, a bug from the feces and all the rest of it that's being dumped into the sea. Of course, there's going to be infection, disease, and all the rest of it. It's apparently some kind of disease going around, and it's basically poisoning the fish, killing up to 1 billion fish, which is incredible. A billion fish, damn, that's a lot of fish. It talks about whaling as well. Of course, Japan was, for whaling, of course, and even pressure. I don't know what their policy is today. I think that they were trying to cull them even further, but essentially, of course, you risk wiping them out, I suppose. Whaling takes place today with harpoons, and they even direct the whales into whaling areas. This is kind of sick. I found that a bit disgusting. Like they lured the whale or tried to coax him into an area where whaling was legal, and then they killed him. Even encouraging it to become beached. And when it was beached or coming up to the shallows or whatever, they would run up to the whale and stab it to death. Jesus Christ! For its meat, is exotic meat or whatever, in that specific country. I know Japan's does it specifically. I'm not too sure about the West. I assume we do it. But anyway, dolphins are more or less the same way. I saw a dolphin being dragged by the back of a truck. Oh, it was horrible. Down the street. That was bad. And then it was cut open and then it was drained. And they were doing this en masse kind of thing. With about 10 of them, all around. Next up, we had clothes. Clothes they were talking about essentially leather, which of course leather comes from cows and specifically Indian cows, which I found kind of strange because of course the cow in India is sacred and they don't like beef and they won't, they don't like that shit. They don't want you to kill cows. But of course what they basically do is they basically take them, they lure them up somewhere, or they take their property where they bought them, and they can't kill them in India, so they take them to another area where it's legal to kill cows, and they basically slaughter them. And of course, the way up there is long and treacherous kind of thing. So I've got a few facts here. They basically, to move them along when they're tired and everything, and they haven't had food or water, the tails are broken. They even rub pepper in their eyes to keep them moving before they're killed. And half of them are partially half dead before they even arrive. And to make matters worse, when they actually do cull the cow, kill them, they're actually killed in front of each other. So literally 4 cows, 5 cows standing around while one cow gets killed in front of them. Like, whoa, that's traumatic. But yeah, so for me, hold on, yeah, okay, then they talk about fur as well. And for me, the necessarily killing animals is one thing that I can accept to a point. It's the other shit that goes along with it where it's more the entertainment aspect of what I'm about to talk about, which really kind of pisses me off more than anything, to be honest with you. Because it's not necessary, and it's just it's bullshit. And I that's why I think I feel most strongly about it. Not only because it's a type of animal, maybe because it's a tiger or whatever I'm about to talk about next, but the fact that it's just unnecessarily done, you know what I mean, for entertainment wise, and I'm like, that's just not right. So, there's food and there's prep for that aspect of it, and there's an ugly side of it, but then you've got this kind of entertainment thing which kind of pisses me off, and I'm like, that's just not right, at the end of the day. But anyway, so I'm going to go into it. So fur, okay, so let's talk about fur. Now, 100 million animals are killed every year for their fur, 25 million in the USA alone. These animals are caged and they are made to go mad in their small cages environments. And some of them are even alive when they're actually skinned. You actually see this in the show. It's horrible. With seals as well. Oof. Seal clubbing I saw as well. There were lots of bodies on the ice, and I don't know what they do with the meat or whatever, but I think they just dumped them somewhere. I'm not too sure, but they took the skins of the seal, which is horrible. And I saw one I think was even alive while it, or after it was skinned. I was like, Jesus, that's fucking disgusting. Um, then we saw bull runs. Fuck off. Right, sorry, that was the cat coming in. Then we saw bull runs. Now, of course, we all know about bull runs happening, and then people get killed. I've got to be honest with you, I have no sympathy for those people, or the people who get killed while doing that bullfighting. They're teased and prod to make them buck and everything, and wound up for the audience, when they go watching that. Okay, and they've got something called a tightrope, where basically they tight the rope around the bull's private parts, and then they tug it to make it, and that's why it bucks, because it's trying to get out of it. So it's an unnatural state for it to be in. Sorry, my cat just came back in and is pestering me. But yeah, so that was annoying as hell to watch that. I was like, oh fuck that. So I don't really care for that shit. And they said that they also kept in darkness for 48 hours, and then when they're released into the open, they're seeing light for the first time to give the bull fighter, as it were, if that's what you want to call it, an advantage. And I was like, fuck out of it, it's retarded. And then of course they kill it anyway at the end of the day. They had another thing where they basically rope animals as well, like cows, like small baby cows, where they run and then they do the rope, and they wrapped it around it, put it around his throat and pull him back, tug him back, and some of the little cows do backflips, or lambs or whatever they're roping. It's like, Jesus, fucking horrific, man. What else we got? Okay, they talk about circuses. And the last thing I got to speak about is experimentations. Alright, so the next thing up is circuses. Now, this really pissed me off, because I saw some footage of... okay, so hold on. So, the training of tigers and elephants pissed me the fuck off. It really did. I saw a tiger, the trainer was giving it some food. It went to take the food instinctively, and the trainer was pissed off at it and slapped it round the face and said no. And we saw even women doing this as well as males, so it's not like it's just guy doing it. Literally, I'm like, Jesus Christ, that's fucking disgusting behavior. How can you treat an animal that way? In respects to, you're not killing it for a purpose of whatever, you're trying to train it for entertainment, and you're punishing it. And these animals, more or less, the documentary even states that it's more, they do it out of fear, not for the food. It's not about rewards. The reward is reward. It's more done out of fear. The prod of the elephant, being stunned or whatever it is, or the tiger being hit as punishment, is absolutely insane. So fuck the circus and their bullshit. I think they banned that stuff going on, I think, in some countries. I'm not too sure. I like to think it's all banned, but again, probably isn't. So yeah. Then we saw, so elephants are prodded and beaten again, and we see actual footage in this documentary of the trainers training the elephants and the tigers, and you see all this, you're like, fucking pieces of shit. They are really pieces of shit. Anyway, so then you saw some footage of the elephant. Unfortunately, I know the ongoing public wants to see elephants, and we don't like to see the ugly side of it. And they're just, they're innocent. I'm going to call them innocents at this point. But at the same time, they're kind of, but we're, guilty of paying the ticket prices to go see the animals. But I think if most people knew what was going on, people would be disgusted and think, fuck that. And including myself, I love animals and I like to see tigers and stuff on the circus. But after knowing what they do and everything, I'm like, fuck that. I'm not supporting that. So I don't give a shit one way or the other about the... so anyway, you basically see the elephant rampage and actually attack a trainer. They do recognise which trainer's which, by the way. They just do. They remember who's an arsehole. I remember seeing one elephant... a guy who was an arsehole in a previous documentary, basically standing near an elephant, and the elephant was scared of him. The elephant was scared of a man who was standing next to him. He weren't even doing anything, but he knew what he'd done. So animals know, man. They remember. They know who's an arsehole and who to be wary of. There's no doubt about that. There's no denying that fact, and I'll get onto that as well later on. But yeah, so anyway, you see this tiger trampling the trainer, killing him, whatever. And in real life, you see these trainers, I'm going to be honest with you, get hurt and mauled in real life. You see it in the paper every now and again, blah, 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 in these big shows, recent years and all the rest of it. And I have to say, Upon seeing all of that in this documentary, in those aspects of the so-called training, I don't give a fuck. I couldn't care less. I hope that tiger mauls you. I hope you fucking get maimed. I couldn't give two fucking shits because you're a cunt. That is my opinion of that. So I don't care if the elephant trampled. Unfortunately, the elephant in this particular documentary got killed, shot like 25, 30 times to bring it down. It rampaged into the street. Of course, you're not going to have that. Police arrived, shot it. I understand. It's disappointing. I'm happy he got revenge, and I don't give a fuck about that particular trainer or anyone who trains those animals and punishes them like that. That's my general opinion. Again, the hypocritical side of it is, well, why don't you feel that way about the cow? Well, same time there's a process for that, and it's got to be done. Regarding this is just entertainment, and it's being punished and tortured. Of course, they cull animals as well in certain countries. I think loads of elephants got killed as well, but that was a culling thing in another country. I think that was another documentary actually, but I won't go into that. I'll just stick with this one. But just to give you an example. Next up, it goes on to monkeys being experimented on, and for various reasons. Of course, you've got monkeys in space. We've seen that happen, and then we've got these particular ones. We're having car crash head trauma practice on them to imitate a human brain or head, or how it would react, or how much force or whatever. And their heads were forced up into a device and jerked up like how you would get done in a car crash kind of thing, to simulate the car crash. Which is horrific, and all the rest of it. And it goes on about animal experimentations. You saw cats, you saw dogs, and all the rest of it. You saw all animals from walks of life. My cat's sitting on the floor. Suffering these harsh experiments and everything else. And of course, you got people saying don't experiment on animals, blah blah, and all the rest of it. But the underlying fact is, see, maybe I'll leave that in my final thoughts regarding that. It was not nice to see. And again, like being a meat eater, like the cows being killed, or like whatever, or the medicines, we don't like to know how it's done. They will say to a point that it is see that the documentary said that it wasn't you're not going to get correct readings. What you're going to get is just causing the animal pain, and then they go on to human trials anyway in a very controlled environment where they say this is what you're taking, and they have 4 or 5 people doing this, and then they record the findings that way to get the thing to know what happens, and then if that can become a drug or whatever it is. So it is what it is, that's their argument. There's probably counter arguments to that, but again, they didn't really provide any counter arguments for anything. They just gave their one side of the story. But as a documentary as a whole, I felt that at the beginning it pissed me off with the Nazi thing. I thought that was a bit strong. Maybe they were trying to shock you. I don't know. I have a strong stomach, and I saw the cows being killed. But after the initial Nazi thing, after that, it kind of just gave you facts, which I thought was good. That's all you really want. Yes, it told one side of a story. You have to, and that's fine. I say one side of the story, but they're not talking about the other. What humans need, whatever else. They kept talking about a plant-based thing you can do as well. I think. How people can, not eat meat, and you could just eat, go vegetarian and all the rest of it. And I think that's what they're trying to really get you going there. But guys, I'm going to record my final thoughts now to add on to this video, because I want to, but that being only a 5 or 6 minute thing, if that. Sorry if the review's gone on for quite a while, but there was a lot to cover. I want to cover as much as possible in it. So give me 1 second, guys, and I'll be back for my final thoughts on it. Alright guys, I'm back, and I'm going to record my final thoughts now on this documentary. I know it's gone on for a long time, number one, I think the documentary did a good job in respects to showing the graphic nature of the killing of animals. I think that that's important for everyone to see, to hit home to most people that this is what it takes, the process of eating meat. There's nothing wrong with that, and I think that's what it was trying to prevail anyway. I disagree with the beginning of the documentary where it tried to compare killing of animals to the Holocaust. I think that's a fucking piss take, really. But whatever. Number two is a meat eater. For me, and for most meat eaters, we don't like to think about the horrible process in which these animals go through and the conditions, but it is a reality. But as well as it being a reality and not wanting to know, it is also a necessity of human life. Is to, all right, you don't have to eat meat, but at the same time we do eat meat, and therefore there's this process that they have to go through, and we breed them specifically for killing, and that is just a reality. Don't like to think about it, but we don't get attached to these animals. They're just simply, a chicken on Sunday, roast beef on whatever, So that's just the way we look at it. We don't name the cow Daisy or whatever, or milking, and the milk gets produced for our cereal, our cups of tea, our cups of coffee. And when you really look at it, as a whole, when you look at whether you're a vegan or not, I have to throw this out here and now. While I can say we're a little bit hypocritical of when it comes to eating meat and all the rest of it, if you drink tea, if you drink coffee, you have milk, you're a part of it, regardless if you love it or you like it or not. It is a reality. So what you're gonna do? Stop drinking tea and milk or stop drinking milk in your tea and your coffee, having that, and then your cereal, blah blah blah. It goes on. The list goes on endlessly. And just switch to full vegan mode, straight up everything. Are you going to not use the products that were basically used to manufacture the medicines and the products like skincare that you use for your daily face wash, or your, the moisturizer you use? Whatever it may be, it was probably used testing animals and all the rest of it. And when it comes to the testing of animals, though we don't agree with it and it's not nice to see and it causes suffering, at the end of the day, it's a necessary evil, and that is why we have cancer drugs and God knows what, and other drugs for other things around the world, to help cure people's illness. And again, they were probably used testing animals, and that's just the way it is. Again, so technically, I think as a human or species, though we claim to care about animals, we are all hypocritical, because if we don't eat meat, we're all drinking milk or using some kind of product or using a medicine that was used testing an animal, and you can never be fully clear of any of that. And I think if you are, you're very extreme, and it's up to you at the end of the day whether you want to go vegan or not. So yeah, I think we're all hypocrites at the end of the day. I think the documentary doesn't say it, but essentially it leaves, at the end of the day, this documentary leaves you with the choice. Either go vegan or you don't. Or you're going to full wacky, over eccentric, don't use any products. I don't think you will. But again, that choice is up to you. But that poses the question, will I turn vegan after watching this documentary? And the answer is no. Because I understand that all of these things are necessary evil, though I don't like to see it. And I love my cat and everything and all the rest of it and my pets. End of the day, I'm not going to lure myself attached to a chicken or a cow. It is a necessary evil. People make money. It provides jobs and industry. One day maybe the fishing will go out of business. There'll be no fish left in the sea, and they just have to stop. Maybe they'll come to a point where the government will step in and say stop. At the end of the day, it is a problem. And when, like the human race does, when we often do is we deal with it when it comes to it. You know what I mean? If the fishermen have to give up their fishing and go elsewhere to do a different job, then they have to do a different job. I don't know, and that industry will die out. That's just the way it is. So no, guys, I will not be going vegan. I suggest you watch the documentary, but it does finish on this, and it says basically that Mother Nature is hurting and the Earth is hurting, and it's man made, it's all man doing this, and it's like, yep, I understand that, I respect that. Sorry, I just wondering where my cat was before I moved my chair. But at the end of the day, what I will say is this: whether I'm dead in 25 years, or you're dead in 25 years, or the human race ends in 25 years, or the human race ends tomorrow via war or some natural disaster, we will die out. Essentially, it doesn't matter, or we go to another planet, it doesn't matter, because Earth will still be here. Earth will still be here. She will be damaged. She will be worse for wear, sorry, and weary. But she will prevail. She will take back everything. It's only humans that are pushing back nature, and as soon as we're gone, she will reclaim everything. The only thing that will be left of us will be the dust of our bones in the ground, and these buildings, which will be covered in greenery. There's a video on YouTube which you can watch, which basically it tells you what happens if it's got a few hundred million views, I think. I don't know. Basically, if humans disappeared off Earth, and basically nature just takes everything. Think back to, if you think of like The Last of Us in games term, or where the land just gets taken over, it takes over everything essentially, or some kind of natural disaster movie. But yeah, there's a video on YouTube where nature basically takes back everything. So if you are worried about the environment or anything like that, Mother Nature, in my eyes, will prevail. It will be worse for wear in the beginning, but it will heal. And Mother Earth will always be here. The only difference is if we're here along for the ride or not, and stay here as long as possible, or we're not here with it. But Mother Nature will prevail. Whether we're on another planet or we die out, she will be here. Anyway, guys, I will not be turning vegan because of this documentary, but I definitely think it's worth a watch. If you're squeamish, you might change your mind and go, well, I've got to go vegan. But at the same time, I'm probably a bit more desensitized to it. But I want to give it a fair review and look at everything and give you those facts. Sorry this video went on for so long, but I thought that was important to do since I was asked to do it. And you know me, I take everything seriously, what I do, and this was a serious documentary. And it gave you facts, and I definitely recommend watching it if you're interested in that kind of thing. But yeah. Anyway, guys, happy World Vegan Day. But yeah, I will not be turning vegan because of this. Let me know your thoughts in the comment section below. Go check it out and then come back here and let me know what you thought of the actual film itself, documentary. And I will see you next time. Thank you so much for watching.